Hello, welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, I know I said it, but
Thank you.
no exaggeration. I've been excited for this, the moment that we announced. I think, like many others in this room, I have to say that Princess Tiana is my favorite.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I mean, it's been a couple years since Princess and the Frog.
It's been 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah, you're shocked.
I mean, obviously it's a Disney movie, a Disney princess movie, but sometimes you never know how they are going to go, that influence that you are going to have, right? It's safe to say that Princess Tiana has been one of the most influential princesses of all time.
Thank you.
Did you expect that type of reaction? And two, what kind of weight does that put on your shoulders?
I did not expect that as a reaction. I think I was so excited to do the movie, and I was so happy because it had been a dream of mine since I was a child to be a Disney voice. And it wasn't even to be a princess voice, it was just to be a Disney voice. So that could have been a tree. Listen, I'd have happily been a shoe. And I ended up being a princess. So I really did not know. And it wasn't until, I guess, people really started seeing it. And it was one of the nights of the premiere week, and a man came up to me, a grown man. He had to be in his 60s. And he wanted to talk to me about it. He was so excited, and he started to cry. And he said it was the first time he had been able to buy a princess doll for his child. And, that looked like her. And so, of course, as we've gone along, the representation for little brown girls everywhere has been amazing. What has also been amazing is the amount of children who don't facially look like Tiana, who feel represented by her and want to be a part of her and feel that they are her. And in doing that, Tiana has really changed the landscape of princessdom. It has changed what the babies who look like me think of themselves. It has changed what their classmates and friends think of themselves and their friends. And I would be surprised if when I was a kid, if I wanted to be a princess in school, you know, I sometimes would be told, oh, you can't be the princess. Why? Or if I wanted to play princess, I would pull out a yellow towel and throw it over my head for my hair. I don't think kids are doing that anymore. And that is a gift and an honor and something that I will carry and treasure in my heart for a very long time.
One of the things that I love about Princess Tiana is that the princessdom doesn't matter to her.
No.
She was setting out to do things her way, and I think that is another form of that representation, as you were talking about, doing it your way, on your own, to achieve your goals.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, there are several things that are fantastic about Tiana and how she became, and one of the things, well, maybe two things that you just said, that she does have her own mind, she has her own plan, she decides to do something, she figures out a way to do it, she doesn't take no for an answer, she's not deterred by naysayers, and she is not deciding that her worth is dependent upon a man or a prince, which is something that I love. I love that for little girls. I love that for women. I like little girls to grow up knowing that their worth is within. And you don't have to look outside of yourself for worth. You don't have to look outside of yourself to be told what you can do or can't do or how well you can do it. You have the power to make that a truth, make that a reality. And as someone who grew up in a very small town, I understood Tiana's journey very clearly from the first moment that I got those pages for the first audition. I was like, oh, this is this is actually me, and I don't want to have a bakery, although I do bake, don't play. But I did want to do something that a lot of people were telling me was not going to be possible for me. I understood that journey, and it's really important to tell our children, in particular our girls, but to tell all of our children that life is possible and dreams are possible, and that they just need to put their mind to it and put their heart into it.
Absolutely. A great message. And before we get to our audience questions, I want to shift gears because I myself, not only a Tiana fan, but a huge Broadway fan.
Ooh.
So can we talk a little bit about Broadway for a few moments?
Yes, yes.
First off, a Tony Award winner, right? So I have to ask, where does one keep a Tony Award?
This one keeps it at her parents' house. I love the Tony. I think it's amazing. It moves. There's a little piece you can flick and it twirls. Very exciting. I think for me, I wanted my parents to be able to hold that because it was, it was a culmination of years, and my parents never asked me to try to do anything else. They never said, don't you want a backup plan? Are you sure you don't want to do this, that, or the other? They were very supportive of everything that I wanted to do and the way that I wanted to pursue it. And for me, the moment of the Tony, hearing my name called, walking up to the stage, hearing that audience in Radio City Music Hall, that to me was the Tony. That was it, having my peers cheer for me and clap for me and be positive about it. Nobody being like, oh, I don't think none of that. People were really supportive. That was the moment. That was it. I don't ever want to lose the Tony, but if I did, I still have that experience. I still know exactly what that felt like. My parents were in the audience. My brother was in the audience. My grandmother was in the audience. That was the Tony.
And you recently made a return to Broadway this past year with Uncle Vanya, with Steve Carell. Allison Pill was in that as well.
Yes. William Jackson Harper from The Good Place.
Right. Alfred Molina.
Alfred Molina, you probably know from Spider-Man. Yeah, a couple people, Yeah, all right. They were amazing.
What is it when you have such not only just a star-studded cast, but a talented cast, and you've been surrounded by talent on a lot of your shows. When you're doing live theater, or when you're doing television, or movies, it's one thing to be like, oh, okay, you get done watching them, and then it's your turn. When you're doing live theater, do you ever catch yourself watching and be like, oh wait, it's now my turn?
No.
Okay.
Because then I'm in trouble. Then I've missed my line. But you do have times where, first of all, let me say that everyone in this cast was exquisitely talented. We know that. And pretty famous. We know that as well. But what was most extraordinary about this cast is that every single person was so kind and generous. We had so much fun. The last weekend, I spent a lot of my time backstage figuring out how to scare people when they got off stage. And nobody had a problem with that. And it was great. But I have done shows where, for example, when I was doing Caroline or Change, there were a couple of numbers that were so phenomenal that if I wasn't on stage, I was waiting backstage in the wings to watch these people do their numbers because they were so amazing. And we had a drummer who played everything. His name is Clancy. I don't know Clancy's last name, but he's ferocious, and I don't think there are many of him. He played pots, pans, spoons. He had everything down in this pit where he was playing drums for one of these songs. He was percussion. I shouldn't say drums, percussion. And whenever that song came, I was running down to watch this man in the pit play his instruments because he was sweating. It was hot down there. He was phenomenal. And when you're able to work with people whose talent is extraordinary, part of the joy and the journey is being able to share that space and being able to see it and take it in. It is really, really thrilling to be around extraordinary talent and to feel that energy back and forth like a tennis match, hopefully. But sometimes you're not on stage and you can just watch, and it's glorious.
So one of the big things on Broadway right now is bringing pop culture, could be classic movies like Back to the Future or Outsiders, to more recent movies like Mean Girls, to Broadway, to the stage. Do you have a favorite movie that you would like to see translated on stage in a musical?
That is so hard. That's like asking somebody their favorite something. And the moment you ask them, they're like, boo. Well, I was lucky enough to do one of my favorites. I did Carmen Jones in 2018 in New York, off Broadway. Thank you. And it was phenomenal, and that had been a dream of mine for a very long time. I thought I was the only person who thought Mrs. Doubtfire should have been a musical, but apparently I was not. I was calling around, I was calling my attorneys, I was like, we should check for the rights. I think it should be a musical, and then they were nominated for a Tony. So I was late, but I don't know, and I'm honestly less interested in seeing, this might come back to bite me, don't do it, don't put it online, don't at me. I at this moment am more interested in seeing new works than I am in seeing something that we've already seen be adapted. Now, sometimes that works, and it's amazing, and it's beautiful, but I think that there are so many amazingly talented minds out there that don't get a chance to see their work done because we're rehashing. And I think it's important for us to cultivate the talent pool that we have, and sometimes you don't know the name, and that doesn't mean it's not good. It just means you haven't seen that person yet, and you're not gonna get to the good thing if you don't give it a chance. So I'm really interested in seeing new works by new faces and new names, or names you haven't heard in a while, and just giving it a chance to be great. If you see me in a revival sometime soon, do not mess with me online.
Would you like to answer some questions from our
I would
fans?
love to.
Hello, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Kijana Miller.
Hi.
Hello.
I've been a huge fan since childhood, especially when he was in Dreamgirls.
Thank you.
My question is, which of the movie soundtracks was the hardest for you to sing? Dreamgirls or Princess and the Frog?
They weren't hard to sing. And I say that not to be a braggart. I'm saying that because it's what I do and it's what I love to do. And at that point, particularly Dreamgirls, that was like just taking me out of where I do my thing best, probably, on stage, and throwing a camera on me. So I was able to take what I do and just do it in front of a camera. And I love that music, and I love that soundtrack. So it wasn't difficult music for me, per se. What was a lot of work for me to do, is not on soundtrack, and took a lot, was Carmen Jones, which I just mentioned, because it's an opera. And I'm not an opera singer, and I had to train to do that, and I knew that I would have to train. The moment I heard that it was being done, it was something I tried to get done for years, and then I heard somebody was doing it, and I was like, I have to do it, I have to do it, I have to do it. And I started taking lessons and training in that way before I got the job. And I trained for months after I got the job, so that when I got into the room, I wasn't coming on a learning curve, and nobody was gonna say, oh my God, why did you give that to her? I wanted to come as prepared as I possibly could, and that was a lot of work, but a lot of joy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Nick.
Hello. I was wondering what it was like to do Wreck-It Ralph 2, because that's the first time all the princesses were in a recording booth at the same time.
I wasn't in the recording booth with them. We weren't there at the same time. It just looked like we were there at the same time. So it was very singular, and we all had our own experience. And I'm so sorry to burst that bubble, because I know that was exciting to think about, but we weren't. We were on our own. I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks.
I'm so sorry. But if you have another question, get to the end of the line. I'll do it again.
Hello.
Hello, strawberry shortcake.
Hello. Hi, I came to your booth yesterday. I was a hot mess.
Remember? You were not. You were not.
My name is Kaya, and I've been waiting since 2009 to do this. So, I remember Daddy told me fairy tales do come true. So, yeah, I just wanted to do that. Thank you so much. Thank you. And yeah, I just want to say thank you for the representation, for letting little black girls and even black women that we can be princesses and we can be anything that, we put our mind to. And you just really made me feel beautiful in my skin because for a long time I didn't have that representation. The only princess that I did look up to was Belle. And I loved her because her just personality. But I just really want to say thank you. And you are just a light to just your fans, and I'm so blessed that I had this opportunity to meet you. So thank you.
Thank you, Taya. Thank you so very much.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, I'm Tatiana. My question is, how did it feel learning that Tiana was getting her own ride at Disney World for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, and what were some of your favorite elements of the ride when you were able to ride it?
I was amped. I remain amped. It is very, very rare that a movie comes out, a Disney movie comes out, and 15 years later, you get an attraction. It usually, if it hasn't happened by then, it's just not going to happen. So it was a huge deal. It remains a huge deal. It's amazing to me that that is something that is going to be there in perpetuity. That I'll be gone and the movie will be there and the soundtrack will be there and that ride will be there. It is huge. It is huge. What did you ask me secondly? I sort of got caught up on the hugeness.
What were some of your favorite elements of the ride?
The ride, I love the song, Special Spice. It is so much fun. It is a beautiful, beautiful ride. As you go through, the lights are so pretty. They just spent a lot of time putting you in the atmosphere of a bayou, and I love that. I think it's gorgeous. And it's just, it's New Orleans, it's the bayou, it's the Princess and the Frog, and it's there, and you feel like you're living and breathing the bayou when you're in that ride, and I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
How you doing? Name is Will, Peace Queen. Thank you so much for the photo opportunity. It's an early Christmas and Kwanzaa gift from myself. As well as your representation, your God-given gifts, and just you. My question is, obviously your career is very multifaceted. Is there a dream project or role that is still out there for the undertaking for you?
I'm not sure. And that is so disappointing to you, I know. But I don't always think that way. Like Carmen Jones was a dream project for me, and that I knew I'd wanted to do that my whole career. And I don't think I have one at this moment. I really don't, which doesn't mean that there aren't things that I want to do. But I'm not good at having that in my pocket and ready to say. Now, I will probably leave here and be like, you know what I've always wanted to do. But I don't have that dream role in my head. I've always wanted to do action. I love fantasy. I want to do a rom-com. I don't have a particular person in mind. But when I do, bless you, please cover your mouth, please. When I do, follow me on Instagram. I'm going to say something to you, Will. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being our dream girl.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. My name is Gina, and I have a very in the weeds question, but my family and I love the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. I was just wondering, the character of Grace is so fun physically. How do you kind of develop the physicality of a role like that?
That is a fantastic question. So as you can tell, I hated that role. You can tell in my body that I just wasn't happy with it. I loved it so much. I did that show directly after Dreamgirls. And I had told my agents, who were like, well, what do you think you want to do now? I said, I want to do something that does not involve 5-inch heels and does not have me made up to the nines. I want to do something totally different. And so that show came about. I didn't really want to do TV. I wasn't interested in it at that time. But I had read those books, and I loved them. And I loved Anthony Minghella, who is unfortunately no longer with us, who wrote and directed that first episode. And I went in and auditioned, and I had the dialect. It wasn't specific to Botswana, but it was a Southern African dialect, because I knew it from another show that I had done, another play. And one thing that you learn, are you an actor?
I'm not.
Okay. Well, one thing that you find, maybe everybody doesn't, but I have found, as an actor is when you are doing dialects, let me keep it to myself, because maybe it's just me, I haven't talked to a lot of people about it. But when I am doing a dialect, I find that the dialect informs the movement of my body. So when I was doing that dialect, it changed the movement of my body. Particularly with her, because she is somebody who, it occurred to me as I was working, is sort of bird-like. I think that she notices everything, but she was a little nervous, but she was very tight and pulled because she was she was an A-type person, and she wanted things to be perfect, and so everything was very like up and down, straight up and down. And it just honestly came out of that, knowing her personality and allowing that dialect to move through my body in a different way. I think also, even here at home, when you notice people from the north generally move a little faster than people from the south. And so the dialect in the south is a little drawn out, it's a little slow. I think because it's hot, y'all. It's hot. Ain't nobody got time to be moving fast. But I think all of those things affect us and the way that we move. So I really think primarily it is the dialect, and it is her characterization. Who is she? What makes her tick? All of that is going to inform how she moves. You can decide beforehand that this is how I want her to move, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stick, because the character is going to inform you as you go along.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
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 My name is BJ, and I just want to say you mean so much to me. You mean so much to some in the Black community. Like, you just mean so much. And I just want to say, Almost There is one of my favorite songs of all time in Disney history. It is one of the best songs ever. And I've used it in my graduations and, everything. So I just want to say, it's an amazing song, and you killed it on that. My question for you is, there's been a lot of live-action Disney remakes, and I wanted to ask you, would you love to see a Princess and the Frog remake, live-action, and who would you cast as Princess Tiana?
Well, that's hard. I think it would be amazing to see if it's done right. I think it would be beautiful to see. I don't know who I would cast at this point, because I would really have to see people, and I don't know who that person is right now. And that's the point of an audition process. I know this is really controversial, and I probably should not say anything. But it's not controversial towards Disney, so I cannot be in trouble. But I think that Tiana deserves to be someone who is an actor, who is a singer, who understands how to create character, and is not just chosen because of a look or an Instagram number.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Cherie, and I just want to say that I've loved you since I was young, when you were in Dreamgirls.
Look, That's a wig, right? You're still young.
And I've loved you in Dreamgirls. And my question is, how was it working with all the different actors in Dreamgirls, and did you meet the original Effie?
So I have met Jennifer Holliday. I met her outside of that process, just in New York. I met her a couple of times. I met her at some Tony events, and then I met her, a friend of mine is on the board of a dance company and invited me to this fundraiser. And at that point, I had heard the Dreamgirls soundtrack so many times, I didn't even want to hear dook, 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 dook. I was like, oh my God. Some stuff is just in your head at that point. And Jennifer Holliday came out to sing, and I was like, okay, Jennifer Holliday, that's exciting, that's amazing, that's good. She's so amazing. If you ever get to, any of you, if you ever get to hear this woman sing live, it is phenomenal. I don't even know how you sing that way for as long as she has sung and then still have a voice to be able to sing that way. She is a mutant. She's amazing. Working on the movie was fantastic. I loved making that movie. We all, look, I can't speak for everybody, but I know the three of us had a very good time as we were making the movie. Being able to meet and work with Eddie Murphy was the cherry on that ice cream cup. Was the day that we shot the first scene where I actually met him in the movie, and I had not met him yet. And I was supposed to be, you know, a teenager and very nervous and giggly and fun. And I'm not really necessarily a giggly person. I can giggle, but I don't live in a giggle. And so we did the scene, and he looked up at me because he was on his knees at the beginning. He looked up and he said, "You're funny." You ain't got to tell me nothing else. I'm good. Y'all didn't like Princess and the Frog? Okay. It was exciting, and it was fantastic, and it was really wonderful to work with someone I had looked up to and laughed with for so very long, and to be respected and appreciated by that person, even though they did not know me at all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello.
You get a Broadway. I love your shirt.
Yeah, I'm literally about to ask. My name is Destiny. My question is, I know you said you didn't like the favorite Broadway musical, so I'll change it a little bit.
Say I didn't like that.
Well, did I ask? I'm just curious to know what your favorite either movie musical is, other than Dreamgirls, or your favorite Broadway.
So, y'all are tired of me saying Carmen Jones, but I really loved it. And it was my favorite for a very long time. I happen to love Grease. It is not a perfect musical, but I love it. What else do I love? This is where my mind goes blank. I named two things, and I can't think of anything else. I loved the soundtrack from the original Little Mermaid. Mm-hmm. I love Ursula. And I love Les Poissons, les poissons, hee hee hee, ha ha ha. There's nothing better than that. I love musicals in general. I love Fame. I don't know if you've ever seen Fame. It's exquisite.
Awesome.
I love My Fair Lady.
Yeah.
I can keep going, but I'm going to say a lot of uhs. So, yeah, I love musicals in general, and I like old school musicals very much, even though we ain't in them. I really do like them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello.
Hi, my question is on behalf of my fiance, Amy, and we bonded over a love of jazz, and we love Princess and the Frog because of the jazz influence in the movie. And we were just wondering, do you enjoy jazz, and are there any musicians or artists who hold a special place in your heart?
I love jazz. That's a really interesting and different question. I actually love that era of jazz. I love instrumental jazz and vocal. There are a lot of older artists that I enjoy, old meaning dead. Ella Fitzgerald, Blossom Dearie, Natalie Cole. I don't know if you know that she had a great jazz career. Louis Armstrong, Nancy Wilson, Fats Waller, Andy Razaf. I love jazz. I really do. And it makes me very happy. I love New Orleans jazz. I love the feeling of it.
Me too. Thank you.
All right, so we only have about 10 minutes left. We're gonna try to get through as
He's
many
back.
questions.
Come on, I'm gonna give you a good
Nick.
answer this time.
All right, Nick.
Did you know it was going to be 2D? Because when it was being made, they had shut down the 2D Disney stuff. So it being 2D was like a huge thing because everyone was expecting 3D movies from now on. And then they're suddenly like, we're making a 2D princess movie 11 years after the last one.
Yes, I did know that it was going to be 2D. It was a big deal, and they wanted it to be evocative of the classic Disney films. And I love that it's 2D because the thing about Disney that I really, really adore and remember vividly from a child is the depth of their color palette, how rich and beautiful it is, and how it takes you to a space of fantasy before you even know what is going to happen because of the way the drawings are. And it's actually something that I really miss, although I know that things change and technology changes and people want to do things in a less expensive and more time-effective way. But I was really pleased to be the movie that brought that back. It is a beautiful, beautiful way to make art, and I miss it. So yes, I did know, and I'm glad that you liked it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Hello again. I'm Renee. It's good meeting you earlier. So you have played a plethora of different characters.
Yes.
Is there one that you particularly love better than all of them? Like, to be honest with you, I loved you in everything that you've done. But I have to say, one thing that stood out for me was when you played Jukebox on Power.
So I loved Jukebox. I love Jukebox very much. I don't know how many of you all in here looking for happy fantasy things watched Power, but it was not a happy fantasy.
No, and Jukebox was not, but you killed it. Like, it was so different from anything I had seen you before. And I was like, oh, hot dog.
My goal as an actor is to always make my next thing be different than the last thing you saw me in. It is something that I do to keep myself sharp, to keep myself from being bored, to keep you all from being bored, and to keep myself growing as an actor. So I have been lucky. I've been really blessed in the characters that have come my way. I loved Regina on Maid. I already said I loved somebody. You're tired of hearing her name, so I'm not going to say it again.
You talking about Carmen?
I played Maggie the Cat in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Loved it. I loved Grace Malcuzzi in No. 1 Ladies Detective Agency, which I actually started watching recently because my husband hadn't seen the whole thing. And I was like, I want you to see this because it's something I really adore.
I love that you're saying your husband. I love that.
Well, he is. So yeah, so I've been really lucky in the caricature. I can't say that I have a favorite because I've really loved the people that I've gotten to play. I really have, and I don't know how many people get that chance to really be like, I've loved all of these roles, but I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is this a terrible interview? Y'all can't pin me down on anything, and I'm trying. I really am trying.
Hi. I saw you earlier today. I'm Desiree.
Hi, yes.
And I was so excited, and I forgot to give you the pin I made you, so if I can give it to you, that's okay. No pressure, no pressure. Anyway, sorry. as you know, Tiana is very influential in the Black community, and as just a character in general. I think her way and like her authenticity and her perseverance through everything is just so inspiring. And I know for me, as a person who is going into a profession that takes a long time to get to, she inspires me to keep going, and I'm almost there. So it's just, I want to do it, and I take her with me everywhere I go, obviously today specifically, but in my heart, you know. So I was just wondering, how do you take Tiana with you? Like, in what ways do you think you take a piece of Tiana as a character with you in your everyday life, or just every now and again?
Well, I'm so much like Tiana that it's very easy to take her with me. When I want to do something, I think I'm very purposeful about it. I don't let a whole lot of things get in my way, per se. That's a weird thing to say, you know, but I try to work things out the best I can. Here's something that I take with me that is not a great thing. I'm not very good at asking for help, and I'm trying to get better at that in life. I'm also working on releasing perfectionism, which is not your friend and is more detrimental than it is something to brag about. So those are some things that I have with me that probably wish I didn't have with me, but life is a journey and we're working on stuff. I love to cook. This summer I've been working on ice cream. Love to make, I made some ice cream. I'm so pleased with it. I'm thinking about selling it. I like to bake. I don't know, I'm a small town girl who is in a profession that shouldn't really be for me, and here I am. So I'm very blessed and I'm very lucky, and I work very, very hard. And I think all of those things are connected.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we're running out of time. We can do quick questions. Well, we can get through all of them.
I think it's my fault. I think it's long answers.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's all.
Hi, my name is Karen. I was just wondering, I know the live action question was asked, but if there was a live action, would you be interested in going back to your role as Tiana?
Girl. I would love to play Tiana again, but that is going to take so long to happen and to do. I don't think. Now listen, if I end up in there and I look like a blur when I'm standing still, because that's how much CGI they had to use, don't at me. Because I love my girl. But I just think that it'll probably be many years before that happens, and I would be, unless we decided to do Tiana's extended adventures, I don't know that I would be able to play a 19-year-old at that point. So if we took Tiana and took her from a different point of life, I would be more than happy to play Tiana. But by the time they get there, I might be Mama Odie. Listen, I don't know. And Jennifer Lewis would have something to say about that. So maybe I'll be Juju. Who knows? But thank you for wanting me. I appreciate it. I love all of you fans, and I love the way that you stand up for me and stand for me and call my name in spaces where I'm not even there. I want you to know that means the world to me, that you all champion me in the way that you do, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
I'll make it quick. With last year being the 100th anniversary of Disney, how did you feel, or what was your reaction when you got the call asking you to come back to do the 100th anniversary short?
Oh, I was excited about that, and it was fun. And what was really amazing about it, is I think they got everyone who was alive into that short. So sometimes all you said was, "Yep, here we go," and you were in it. It was amazing the way that they were able to do that. But I was very honored to be a part of that because Disney was such a part of my childhood. I don't know how many of you all remember The Wonderful World of Disney that used to come on Sunday nights. Yep, that was a soft clap because y'all wasn't here. But I used to watch that on Sunday nights, and it came on, I think, at 7. And the moment Tinkerbell started going around that castle, we knew that it was time for me. It was time for the little people. And that is why I hate football to this day, because football would be like, Daddy, when is the, well, we have 10 minutes left. No, it's an hour, and now the show is no longer on. But I loved that. And so there were so many people, it was so instrumental in my growing up years and in the imagination space of my mind, that to be a part of that is just a huge, huge honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we have 1 minute left. 1 minute left. We're on the clock. Hello.
Hi, my name is Sydney.
Hi,
I know
Sydney.
you mentioned earlier that you'd always wanted to be in Disney. I know for me and a lot of others, Tiana's a favorite. So I just wanted to know what some of like your favorite like Disney movies and characters were growing up.
Ooh, you said you had a minute. You're wrong. I love Fantasia. One of the first things I ever saw that really made me want to be a part of this. I loved Bambi. I loved Mary Poppins, the Aristocats, 101 Dalmatians. So many things. The other ones that I've already named. But I really, The Fox and the Hound is an old, Sorcerer's Apprentice. There's so many beautiful, beautiful old, and they were old when I was little. So Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Whistle While You Work, I can hear that now. It's in my ear. I still think it was subliminal, like they were trying to get little kids to do chores on the sly and make it fun. It's not fun. But it, it worked for a minute. I love all of those classic Disney pieces. I even really love, for the oddest reason, Steamboat Willie, when Mickey is whistling, and his little booty is going, and he's just doing his boat and whistling. I love it. There is such a joy to that. I could go on and on and on, Bambi was so beautiful, so tragic in the beginning, and yet teaches children that it is possible to keep going when you think your world has ended. There are beautiful, beautiful films to be seen in the Disney vault.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that is our time. So I'm gonna give you a moment because that is our time. But what we're gonna do right now, we're gonna take a stage selfie. And while we are getting set up for our stage selfie, if you would like to come up here and ask your question personally, real quick, while we're setting this up.